Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are talking about 2026 tax changes that actually matter for gig workers and crypto users. Tax season has always had a way of sneaking up on people, and if you're a gig worker, freelancer, or somebody who touches crypto at all, it usually comes with a lot more anxiety and a lot more confusion. And 2026 is not a normal year for crypto users or gig workers. This filing season is where several things collide at once: changes in tax law, changes in reporting expectations, and a much bigger shift in how the IRS uses data and automation. Some of these changes are genuinely helpful, and some of them are just more paperwork. Some of them are the kind of changes that only hurt you if you choose to ignore them. So in this video, we are talking about the 2026 tax changes gig workers and crypto users must know, what everyone is saying versus how it actually is, and everything in between. But before we do that, let's go over a quick disclaimer. The content of this video does not contain, is never intended to be, legal, business, financial, tax, or health advice of any kind. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is advised that you conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before applying anything you find online. I also want to be clear that everything that we're going to be going over is very market to market and case by case. What applies to me in my market may not apply to you. So with that said, let's get started. Why 2026 is different. Most of what you're seeing this year comes from two things happening at the same time. First, a major tax law changed mid-2025 that changed thresholds and deductions for all parties involved. Second, and this part matters more, the IRS is now relying much more heavily on data matching, automation, and third-party reporting instead of just forms for random audits. In practical terms, that means some rules got more flexible, some deductions got better, but enforcement got quieter and smarter. For W-2 employees, this mostly shows up as slightly different numbers. For gig workers and crypto users, this shows up as new expectations, new scrutiny, and a lot less room to guess. Let's start with gig work, because this is where most people either save or lose the most amount of money. What changed for gig workers and self-employed people? If you do Doordash, Uber, Instacart, Deliver That, Roadie, Amazon Flex, or literally anything 1099 based, this section is going to apply to you. There are four areas that matter most this year: 1099 reporting and IRS scrutiny, mileage deductions, the new no tax on tips rule, and overall tax planning. Let's knock these out in order because they all build up on each other. 1099 reporting got less noisy, but the IRS got more serious. Let's clear up a big point of confusion right away, because a lot of people are still hearing outdated information. For years, everyone has heard about the $600 1099 threshold and assumed that meant everything and would start getting reported at $600. That's not how this is playing out. Under the new rules, the reporting threshold for 1099 NEC and 1099 miscellaneous is being raised from $600 to $2,000, and the controversial $600 1099K rule for payment apps was rolled back. Platforms generally only issue a 1099K if you have over 20,000 and more than 200 transactions. And yes, on paper, that means fewer forms are going out. For a lot of gig workers and small businesses, it sounds simpler, but here's the part that people aren't thinking about. A lot of drivers work with platforms that aren't busy in their market because they want to get that bigger order that they only have access to. Or really, they schedule out one or two big orders from them every now and then because they just come out with these unicorns, especially if you're operating on Ezcator platforms of some degree. You might run into a few orders here and there, and by the end of the year, you earned, let's say, $1,900. Under the new rules, that platform might not send you a 1099 at all because you're under the $2,000 threshold, but that income is still 100% taxable. So now you've got income that shows up in your bank deposits, does not show up in a 1099, and is still legally required to be reported. And that's exactly how people get in trouble without realizing it. Not because they were trying to hide anything, but because they assumed no forms means it doesn't matter. And that's why it's important to understand one simple rule. Not getting a 1099 does not mean the income is not taxed. You are still legally required to report all of your gig and self-employed income, whether a platform sends you a form or not. Here's the part that matters more in 2026 than it did a few years ago, though. The IRS is now putting more scrutiny on independent contractors and small businesses, not less. Audits are not as random like they used to be. The IRS is relying more on payment processor data, platform reporting, bank deposits, and automated data matching systems. In other words, the system is getting better at seeing the whole picture, even when you don't get a neat little form for every income source. This is how people get in trouble now, not because they forgot one form, but because their numbers don't add up to what the system expects. And when you're self-employed, that burden of proof is on you. That's why tracking is no longer optional, and that brings us straight to mileage. The 2026 mileage update. Why this still matters more than almost anything else. Every year, the IRS updates the standard mileage rate to reflect the real cost of operating a vehicle. Mileage deductions have been raising year after year. In 2024, the IRS set the business rate at 67 cents per mile. At the time, that was a great increase. In 2025, it went up to 70 cents per mile. Pretty solid increase as well. In 2026, the rate is now 72.5 cents per mile. That might not sound like much, but when you're driving thousands of miles for deliveries, ride shares, or anything in the courier or transportation space, that difference really adds up. And tracking every mile accurately can save you real money on your taxes. But here's what never changes. For most delivery and ride share drivers, mileage is your single biggest deduction. Yes, your phone does add to your deductions, especially if your phone is under your business name. Yes, your hot bags do count towards your deductions for your equipment. Yes, car washes count for maintenance for your equipment, but none compare to the overall mileage you are driving. Even small changes to the mileage tax rate can mean hundreds or thousands of dollars in taxable income over a year. And yet most drivers guess, reconstruct trips, forget drives, or just undercount. And when you undercount mileage, you overpay taxes. And that's exactly why I use MileIQ. It automatically tracks every drive in the background and lets me swipe to classify business versus personal. And at the very end of the year, I'm not trying to reverse engineer my life from Google Maps. If you're doing gig work and you're not tracking mileage properly, there's a very high chance you're voluntarily paying extra tax for no reason. And in a year where enforcement is tighter, having clean, defensible records matters more than ever. The no tax on tips rule, who it helps and what it actually means. One of the most genuinely helpful changes this year is the new rule around qualified tip income. For workers who receive tips as part of their income, some tip income can now be deducted from federal taxable income. And that's a big deal. But, and this is very important, this is not automatic, unlimited, or for everyone. You still have to qualify, you still have to track it properly, and you still have to claim it correctly on your tax return. And this is where things get messy for a lot of gig workers, but there is a second problem hiding underneath the tax rule itself. You can't deduct tips properly if you're not even sure you're receiving 100% of your tips in the first place. A lot of drivers don't realize that some platforms or DSPs do not cleanly separate base pay and tips on the summaries or payout reports that they receive. Some of them are bundled together, especially if you're working for a platform under the RMDA. Sometimes it's labeled consistency and sometimes it's just not transparent at all. In fact, this is exactly why my Skipcart 1099 shows one big non-employee compensation number. And that's why smaller platforms might not send you anything at all if you came in under the threshold. The forms are simpler, but the burden of proof is still on us. And that's a problem for two different reasons. First, from a money standpoint, if you want to make sure that none of your base pay is being passed off as a tip, or worse, that none of your actual tips are being shaved, withheld, or misreported. And second, from a tax standpoint, if tips or base pay are co-mingled, you can't correctly apply the no tax on tips deduction, even if you're legally entitled to it. This is exactly why we built the EasyCater tip verification tool on the Driven Wyld website. It lets drivers submit their order info and compare what they were supposed to receive in tips versus what they actually showed in their payout. As long as those companies are part of our internal governance and transparency program, you can catch discrepancies, document them, and at least have a paper trail that something doesn't line up. Even if your DSP or platform doesn't break it down clearly within your tax forms, you still need to know what portion of your income was actually tips and what portion was just base pay. Because if your records are sloppy or your pay structure isn't transparent, you can't defend the deduction and you can't defend your income either. So yes, this new rule can lower your tax bill, but only if your bookkeeping or your pay records are clean enough to survive scrutiny. And this brings us back to the same theme. Good tracking isn't about saving money anymore. It's about protecting yourself. Self-employment tax, the part that never goes away. One thing that does not change: if you're self-employed, you are still paying both sides of Social Security and Medicare. Some rules and offsets have shifted under the new law, which means some freelancers will actually owe more, even if their income didn't change much. Yes, some of that is still a write-off, but this is why quarterly estimated taxes still matter, expense tracking still matters, and planning still matters. And this is usually the point where people say,
okay, this might be a bit more complicated than I wanted to handle on my own.
Which is where something like gig tax stops being about convenience and starts being about risk management. If you've got gig income, mileage deductions, self-employment taxes, tip deductions, and sometimes crypto even on top of that, paying someone who actually understands all of this is often going to be cheaper than fixing those mistakes later. So feel free to reach out to GigTax through gigtaxservice.com/drivenwyld using the code WYLD in all lowercase letters, or go to my website drivenwyld.com/gigtax if you want access to that benefit. Crypto taxes in 2026. Same rules, much less forgiveness. Crypto isn't new to the tax code anymore, but 2026 is shaping up to be one of the first years where a lot of people realize the IRS is no longer treating crypto like a side hobby. The digital asset question is no longer optional. When you file your return, one of your first questions you must answer is whether you bought, sold, swapped, or received digital assets. Crypto is treated as property, not currency, which means selling crypto is a taxable event. Swapping crypto, taxable event. Using crypto to buy something, taxable event. And tracking this manually is actually a nightmare. Once you have multiple wallets, multiple exchanges, and transactions spread across a year, manually figuring this out becomes almost impossible. And that's why tools like CoinTracker exist. CoinTracker syncs wallets and exchanges, tracks transactions, and calculates gains and losses, while giving you actual reports you can use for your taxes instead of guessing and hoping you got it right. And in 2026, hoping is not a compliance strategy. New crypto reporting. The Wild West era is ending. There's one more change on the crypto side that's actually important to understand. Starting this tax cycle, there is a new IRS form specifically for crypto and digital assets called the Form 1099-DA, which is similar to your 1099-B for stocks, but for crypto. So if you sell, swap, or otherwise dispose of digital assets on a platform that the IRS considers a broker, you may start receiving 1099-DA forms showing your crypto transactions. At first, these forms will mainly report gross proceeds, and over time, they'll include much more detailed information like cost basis and acquisition dates. And here's the real takeaway. This is the IRS building the same kind of reporting and data matching for crypto that already exists for stocks. In other words, the Wild West phase of crypto is ending. For years, crypto lived in this gray area where reporting was consistent, forms were rare and incomplete, and a lot of people assumed the IRS just wouldn't notice. That era is coming to a close. Just like with gig work, the IRS is moving away from relying on what you tell them towards relying on what platforms report about you. And just like with gig work, even if you don't get a perfect form, you're still responsible for reporting everything correctly. This is why tools like CoinTracker matter more now than they did a few years ago, because once you have multiple wallets, exchanges, and transactions, keeping this straight manually is not realistic anymore. Tax rates aren't new, enforcement is. Short-term gains are still treated like normal income, and long-term gains are treated as capital gains rates. What is new is how good the IRS has gotten at matching data and spotting gaps. In other words, the rules didn't change, the consequences of ignoring them did. When gig work and crypto collide. If you're a gig worker and you touch crypto, congratulations, you're operating the two most compliance-heavy parts of the tax system at the same time. This is usually the point where people realize, okay, this might be more complicated than I want to wing. And that's where using something like gig tax or a specialized tax pro stops being a luxury and starts being risk management. Again, links are going to be in the description. Feel free to reach out to him. Tax season is underway. Final thoughts. The 2026 tax season isn't scary because taxes are suddenly new. It's because reporting is tighter, data matching is better, and the IRS is relying less on trust and more on systems. For gig workers, this is a year where mileage tracking and deductions don't really matter. For crypto users, this is a year where they probably won't notice, stops becoming a plan. And if you're doing both, this is the year you gotta stop winging it. MyLIQ, Coin Tracker, and Gig Tax are all gonna be in the description. Feel free to check them out or check them out on my website, drivenwyld.com, or bio.drivenwyld.com if you want quicker access to them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. If you want to stay on the cutting edge of what's happening in the gig economy today and be in the know of what most people are talking about, make sure to check out our new channel, the Gone Wild live clips and podcasts, where we take the live streams we hold on Thursdays at 9 p.m., cut them down to more digestible clips, and have them posted there. And check out our Patreon for exclusive clips, full-length live stream replays, and other membership perks for self-employed individuals who want to grow and scale their business. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time.
Rise up, shake off that 9-to-5 rust. In this wild world of hustle we trust. Break them all, leave them all in dust. Driven was the